You might find this hard to believe, but only 5% of people over 70 can still do these four simple things. It's not because the rest are lazy or unlucky. It's just that no one ever taught them how to keep these basic skills strong as they age. In this video, we're sharing those 4 habits, and trust us, number 3 might actually save your life. And number 4, most doctors don't even talk about it, but it could change everything for you or someone you love. Let's talk about Helen. She's 75, not a fitness fanatic or someone who runs marathons. She just wanted to stay steady on her feet, keep her mind sharp, and live independently. One evening, she slipped in the bathroom. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt, but what scared her most was how hard it was to get back up. That night, her daughter connected her with a physical therapist who taught her 4 easy habits. No gym memberships, no expensive gear, just small actions that anyone can do at home, but most people ignore until it's too late. If you care about your health or the health of someone close to you, don't miss this. Hit that like button if you want to stay strong and independent for years to come. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more life-changing tips. And in the comments, let us know which of these 4 habits surprised you the most, or if you've ever had a wake-up call like Helen. Let's talk about it. Number 1, sitting and standing without hands. Helen never thought something as simple as standing up from a chair could make such a difference in her life. For years, she'd gone about her day without noticing how often she leaned on her hands or grabbed the edge of a table just to push herself up. It wasn't until a neighbor mentioned a challenge to stand without using your hands that she realized her body was quietly losing strength. She decided to test herself, crossed her arms, and tried to rise from her favorite kitchen chair. To her surprise, it wasn't easy. That moment stuck with her. The next morning, she made a decision. 5 times a day, she would practice sitting down and standing up without using her hands. No gym, no fancy equipment, just her, a firm chair, and her own determination. The first few days felt awkward. Her legs trembled slightly, her core wobbled, and her balance was off. But she pushed through. Each attempt, no matter how shaky, was a small victory. She wasn't chasing perfection. She was rebuilding control. Within a week, something shifted. Helen noticed that her muscles felt more engaged throughout the day, even when she wasn't exercising. She could stand up from the couch more easily, and when she reached for her coffee mug, her arm didn't reflexively brace against the counter. Her hips felt stronger, her posture more upright. That one movement, done with consistency, was waking up parts of her body that had gone quiet over the years. By the end of the second week, Helen had stopped thinking about balance as something that belonged only to younger people. She felt more stable on the stairs, more confident walking outside on uneven sidewalks. She didn't need to clutch the armrest or hesitate before getting up. Something deeper had shifted too. A sense of control had returned. She no longer felt fragile or at the mercy of aging. It amazed her that such a small action could have such a big effect. She didn't lose weight or suddenly turn into an athlete, but she gained something more powerful: independence. All from a quiet ritual, 5 times a day, of rising with dignity from a chair. Number 2, standing on one foot, with eyes closed. Helen had always considered herself fairly steady on her feet, until the day her therapist asked her to stand on one foot with her eyes closed. It sounded easy enough, but the moment she lifted one foot and shut her eyes, she wobbled and had to grab the wall. Her therapist gently explained that balance wasn't just about strong legs or good shoes. It had more to do with the brain. If you can hold that pose for 10 seconds, he said, it's a sign your brain is staying sharp with age. The challenge sparked something in Helen. She wasn't discouraged. Instead, she made it a little personal mission. Every morning after brushing her teeth, she'd stand near the hallway wall, take a deep breath, and give it a try. At first, she barely lasted 2 seconds. Sometimes she'd laugh at herself, sometimes she'd sigh, but she kept at it. Slowly, something began to change. Her body grew more responsive, her legs steadier, her focus tighter. What surprised her most was how much this tiny task began to affect other parts of her life. She felt more confident walking up and down the stairs. Reaching for things on high shelves didn't feel risky anymore. Her ankles no longer felt weak. Even her posture improved, as if her body had begun to trust itself again. With every second longer she held the pose, She felt a small spark of pride. This wasn't just a balance trick. It was a way to feel in control again. Her therapist was right. Balance wasn't just physical, it was about brain health too. Each time she practiced with her eyes closed, her mind had to work harder to keep her centered. That effort built new connections in her brain. It sharpened her awareness, helped her stay present, and even improved her memory over time. What had started as a clumsy exercise had turned into a quiet, daily act of brain training. Now, months later, Helen can stand with her eyes closed for far more than 10 seconds. She does it with calm confidence. No wall nearby. It's a simple act, but it represents something big. Independence, strength, and the quiet victory of staying sharp with age. What once felt impossible is now part of her routine, a daily reminder that the brain, like the body, thrives when challenged. Number 3, getting up from the floor without help. Helen never imagined something as simple as getting up from the floor could hold such deep meaning. It started one afternoon when she found herself sitting on her yoga mat, realizing she wasn't sure how easily she could stand without using her hands. That moment stuck with her, not because she was embarrassed, but because it made her think. What if she fell at home? What if no one was around to help? The idea unsettled her more than she cared to admit. So she made a quiet promise to herself. She would work on it, one careful step at a time. She began gently. At first, she used the couch or a nearby chair for support. It wasn't about pushing herself too hard, just moving with awareness. Each attempt felt like its own little challenge, but also a small victory. Her legs trembled sometimes, her balance wavered, but she kept showing up. She made it part of her routine, just her and the mat in the quiet of her living room. Over time, her movements got smoother, more confident. She began to feel changes in her body, more strength in her legs, better control in her core. Even her breathing seemed calmer. What surprised Helen most wasn't the physical change. It was the shift in her mindset. The simple act of standing up without help gave her a sense of control she hadn't realized she'd lost. She no longer felt nervous about getting down on the floor to stretch, to play with her grandkids, or just to rest. The fear that once hovered quietly in the back of her mind, "What if I fall?" began to fade. She had proven to herself that she could rise again, no matter how slowly, and that alone was powerful. Doctors and researchers talk about this movement, getting up from the floor unaided, as something that predicts long-term health. It might sound dramatic, but it makes sense when you think about it. That one movement brings together so many parts of the body. Your legs need strength, your joints need to move, your lungs need to keep up, and your brain needs to coordinate it all. It's not just about fitness, it's about life, about resilience, about staying in charge of your own body. Helen didn't train for a marathon or chase some big milestone. She just wanted to feel steady on her feet and confident in her own space. And by working on something so simple, she ended up building something profound. It wasn't flashy, and it certainly wasn't easy at first. But every time she rose from the floor, she reminded herself, and everyone watching, that strength isn't just about muscle. Sometimes it's about the quiet effort to keep showing up for yourself. Number 4, 5-minute pace walking test. Helen never saw herself as someone who would enjoy walking for exercise. At first, even the idea of a 5-minute brisk walk sounded a bit much. But her doctor had mentioned that even short walks could make a big difference to her heart and lungs. So one quiet morning, she stood in her kitchen, looked out the window toward her mailbox, and decided to give it a try. With slow determination, she walked out the door, each step feeling like a small win. She reached the mailbox. Then she turned and kept going. Down the sidewalk, around her block, and back home. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. This 5-minute walking test isn't about how fast you move or how far you get. It's about keeping a steady, brisk pace without needing to stop, gasp for air, or feeling off balance. It's a way to check in with your body and see how your heart, lungs, and legs are really doing. For Helen, those first few walks were humbling. She realized how much she'd let her fitness slide. But instead of getting discouraged, she used it as motivation. Each morning, she'd lace up her shoes and try again, aiming to feel a little stronger, a little more stable. What began as a small challenge turned into a quiet routine that grounded her day. 5 minutes alone, just her and the morning air. The world still asleep. She'd breathe deeply, listen to the birds, feel the ground beneath her feet. It was more than exercise. It was a kind of moving meditation. Her thoughts would settle. Worries became smaller. She looked forward to it, not as a task, but as a gift she gave herself. As the days went on, the effects began to show. Her energy stayed up through the afternoons. She didn't need to sit down and catch her breath as often. At her next checkup, her doctor smiled and pointed to the chart. Her blood pressure had dropped noticeably. Helen felt it too. She wasn't just doing better physically. Her confidence grew. She carried herself differently. Her daily walks were reshaping not only her body, but her mindset. What had once felt like a small goal, just 5 minutes of walking, became a powerful symbol. She no longer thought of herself as too old or too out of shape. Instead, she felt like someone just getting started. The simple act of walking from her kitchen to the mailbox had opened a door, and each day she walked through it, she reminded herself, progress isn't about leaps, it's about steps, and she was taking them. Helen is 78 now, and she's still going strong. She lives by herself, drives wherever she needs to go, and never misses a Friday night with her bridge club. People are often surprised by her energy, but Helen hasn't discovered a secret formula. She didn't turn back time. She simply refused to let aging define what her life would look like. Her story isn't rare because she's special. It's rare because most people never realize they have that choice. The truth is, aging by itself isn't the issue. It's how we respond to it. What really wears us down isn't the passing of years, but the slow buildup of neglect. The skipped walks, the ignored aches, the belief that it's just part of getting older. But what if aging could be different? What if staying strong wasn't about chasing youth, but about choosing to stay curious, active, and present with your body? There are simple movements, small but powerful, that reveal so much more than just fitness. They show how much strength, balance, and control you still have. These movements aren't just about muscles. They're about life. They test your connection to your own vitality. And for people over 60, especially those creeping toward or past 70, waiting until something goes wrong, like a fall, is a gamble. One stumble can change everything, but a little daily attention can change everything too. Most people think strength fades with age, but the truth is, most just stop practicing it. Helen didn't wait for a wake-up call. She stayed connected to her body, listened to it, and moved with it every day.